mics are on. And you are up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey TCSTV viewers. We are live here from the field tonight with Neil Zeller. We're talking about night photography. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I already see there's a whole bunch of you in the chat, and so be sure to ask lots of questions, interact. This is what it's all about. Before we get into all this cool stuff, I want to mention that Canon Canada has sponsored this live stream tonight. And of course, the best part about going live is being able to interact with all of you. But because Canon sponsored this, we do have a special offer for those that registered. So check your inboxes if you did, and if you didn't, you can email me, evelyn@thecamerastore.com, and I'll be sure to add you to the list so we can get you in on those Canon exclusive deals. So tonight we're deep in the Alberta prairies, very deep, near Mosley, Alberta, and Neil Zeller is a photographer. He's also a tour guide. He teaches tons of workshops, so make sure you check all that out. But we're just so pleased to have Neil Zeller in the field tonight. Brings me back to the Yukon.
Yeah,
not as cold.
We're at least 40 degrees warmer right now than we were in the Yukon that day.
Yeah, it's a toasty night tonight.
It's very warm.
Yeah, it might be the Hot Pockets talking, I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, but thanks so much for joining all of us. And of course, behind the scenes, we have our TCSTV live dream team. They're both like doing the little cold dance right now. But we have Drew Crawford and Gary Chung, and they're doing an awesome job making sure that everything's running smoothly. Now, of course, if something happens and goes down, we will do our best to get back up and running. Obviously, things are cold. We're running a lot of power. Everything is remote. But do stay tuned to the chat, or just make sure that you refresh our main YouTube channel page. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that. But Neil, what are we going to talk about tonight? What are we doing?
Well, first of all, thanks to Canon Canada and the Camera Store for putting this on, and to these superheroes that we live in the future, you guys.
We so do.
We are so the future. We're standing in the middle of a field with these beautiful grain elevators behind us that we'll see in a few minutes. In the middle of really nowhere, and bringing this to you. So this is fabulous. What a neat thing we're doing.
Yeah, well, why don't we show that cool shot that you did just before we got started so you can kind of see what we're working with. And then we're going to talk about some of the things that you need to know about shooting in the cold in the prairies on a night like tonight. And we should add that we have clear skies tonight, you guys. So we are going to be able to show you some ways of manually focusing on stars, some astrophotography tips. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm working on it.
And what camera are you shooting with tonight?
Sorry, I'm going back and forth a little bit. I am shooting on, and that's actually a blurry little photo, so we will show it in its crispy clear entirety. I'm shooting on the R5, the Canon R5. It's in the RF family, and what a lovely, lovely piece of gear. It's one of the things people talk about in the cold like this is battery life.
Yes.
And these Canon, they upgraded the battery to go along with the R series, and I didn't see any appreciable decrease in battery life from the 5 series and the DSLRs to this new one, even though we're running back screens all the time. So it's out in the cold here. You know, it's 1,200 photos or 3 or 4 hours in the cold for a battery. It's pretty great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what kind of tips do you have for being out here in these cold conditions to go shooting?
Dress warm. If you're cold at any point out here, like my face is a little bit cold. If I wasn't shooting a live video, I would be covered right to my eyeballs right now. So it's a little bit chilly on my face, but otherwise I'm warm. I have boots that are rated to -100. I have layers underneath. I have windproof ski pants on. I've got a really nice jacket on. The gloves have hot pockets in the backs of them. These can buy at Canadian Tire or the Camera Store. Yep. And so the key is being warm. So as soon as your hands or feet get cold, you're kind of done. So if you're going to enjoy this type of genre in the cold weather, dress warm. It's the biggest thing I can offer. The camera gear can handle the cold better than we can.
It's true. Except for audio gear. We're like taping hot pockets to our audio gear to make sure that it works.
But it works out.
Yeah, lots of people here, all over Alberta. Lots of people from Alberta. Someone was saying, is the audio out of sync? If you're seeing any out of sync, try to just refresh the stream. Usually that corrects it. There might be a little bit of latency, but obviously we'll try our best.
Yeah, we're on cell signals out here in the middle of nowhere, so this is still magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so as far as shooting at night goes, a couple of things you need is a really sturdy tripod, because in the cold at night they can be The lighter kind of travel tripods can be affected by the cold. Like when you tighten them up, they can loosen in the cold. Like there's some things that sort of happen. Like I've had some tripods on big cameras on smaller tripods, and they'll just slowly tip over as the night goes on because you can't quite get them tight enough. Cable releases to keep your hand off the camera when you're shooting these long exposures are huge keys, aside from the regular gear, so your camera body and lens. We are shooting at night, so we want to shoot with a fast aperture lens, like 2.8 or faster. Like 4 is, you have to shoot quite a bit longer to get the same photo, but 2.8 or faster, if you can get a 2 lens or a 1.2 lens or something, it helps out in making incredibly sharp, clear, non-noisy photos. So the other thing is, strong bodies these days, like these new mirrorless cameras, especially the R5, the R6, are so fabulous out here because I can see really well through the sensor. Like you used to be able to, you'd point a DSLR, like an old Rebel camera or something, and you couldn't see anything through the sensor until you took a test shot. And now with these strong sensors, I can actually see before shooting, where the items in my shot are going to be composed and whatnot. So it's
and once you go with exposure preview, I think it's really hard to think about going back before you have exposure preview.
I didn't know how much I needed it when I switched over to mirrorless. Right? It's just I am out of the eyepiece now for 80% of my photos. Especially at night here, because we're pointed up at the sky and whatnot, so we flip the screen out and we just work on that exclusively, especially for focusing. So we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We don't have any questions yet, but just a reminder, if you have questions throughout the presentation, out here in the field, this is the time. I mean, it's like you're out here right now with Neil. I know I consider myself very lucky to be able to do this, and I think you guys are too.
Yeah, so it's a workshop. So to get started, I think we'll be able to flip over to the back screen so they can give me a thumbs up if we're into the screen. So we're showing right now the preview. We'll go back to the actual back of camera. So this is the back of camera, and if I'm going to sort of move the camera around and compose, and hopefully you guys are all seeing kind of me compose this image on the back screen. This is just me having a look at what's on there. And my settings right now are 1600 ISO, f2.8, and at 5 seconds. And the camera is actually, the sensor is actually seeing that 5-second exposure for the most part. I'll dial down to half a second here, and you can see how dark it gets, right? And I'll bring it back up and show. So it's a tiny little bit like a cheat when we're able to pre-compose like this. But what a benefit this is for us. So that's the formula, right? So you come out at night. We've got a really, really bright, nearly full moon right now. And so it's lighting up these elevators really nicely. They could be pitch black at night and we wouldn't have these, sort of beautiful front scenes on here. So we'd light them with flashlights and whatnot. We'd be able to focus on these because they're far enough away from us for infinity. And sorry, Evelyn's pointing.
We got some questions.
Oh, sure, already.
So Marianne from Drumheller is wondering, what lens length are you using?
This is a 15 to 35, and I'm a fan of shooting as much sky as possible for the most part. If the northern lights are out and they're a really big show, you can't get enough sky, right? Like it's, the wider the better for me. When it's just night skies, sometimes I'll use the foregrounds to compose a little narrower. So 15 to 35 is my go-to night. That's the Canon RF.
Okay, and I think you're going to get to this shortly, but Kim is wondering if you focus for infinity, and then a proud liberal is asking, enable the histogram. Do you enable your histogram?
I do not at night because not enough light really to affect it. So I'm just on the back of the screen because I can see it so well at night, right? Like I can see what's on the screen. There's no sort of ambient light around me affecting what's on the back. So I shoot, I see the results, and then make changes from there. So I don't enable the histogram in this. It's like metering light when there's no light is the issue there. So should we go ahead and focus? Do a couple options for focusing here. One of the first ones, especially with this camera, is I can kind of drive the focus box around in manual here, and then I can use the focus peaking on this.
Okay. Do you want them to be able to see what you're doing?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Are we over there?
Perfect.
Okay, cool. So I can focus and use the focus peaking and get it to to green here as the little triangles get together. That's not precise though. I don't know if you can see the screen. I think you can see the screen where the infinity mark is.
Yeah.
It's sort of just before infinity to the elevators there. What I'm going to do, yeah, so there's a green on the elevator. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drive the focus point over to a star here, which I can see on the back of the screen. This is such a boon for these new mirrorless cameras, is I can see this on the back of the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to playback zoom this into this star. And what I do now is I simply focus until this star is as tiny as possible. This is as simple as it gets for focusing. So you see how it goes out of focus. As I get bigger, it grows higher. I'm going to go past focus and it grows big. So what I'm going to do is just try and get this as tiny as possible. And once I do, that's in focus. This is 15 times playback zoom on the sensor at night. So it's not going to look completely in focus. And I wonder if they can see the noise that's sort of jumping around on the sensor, on the sensor. But that's fine because we're so blown up and we're so using such the strength of the sensor right now. And then I'm just going to hit the zoom back out. I think I'm shooting right now, actually. Gloved hands. So there's the resulting photo. I'll press play again on that one. And take my gloves off to do that again to get the button. And then what we can do is we can zoom in on that and just double check. I'm hitting info. Double check. I'm going all over the place now, you guys. I don't have my screen that I would just pinch on this right now. So I'm just going to dial in. There we go. And so if I zoom way in, this is like way in. You can see the little dot on the little box above the magnifying glass there. I've zoomed way in. These are pinprick star sharps, pinprick sharp stars now that I can just go ahead and shoot at this focal length.
Yeah.
So now, if I change my focal length, if I zoom in or out to change my composition, you have to redo that process. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock this out of focus again, and I've zoomed that out of focus. I'm just going to go through that process one more time so people can see it really clearly, okay? I'm going to zoom in 5 times, 15 times, and you can see that's out of focus. I'm going to drive the focus, manual focus ring on the front I'm grabbing the phone. There we go. Gloved hands again. It's part of the process. To make that as small as possible again. So all I'm doing is driving the manual focus ring on the lens to make this as small as possible and stopping and just letting go and just being hands off now. I can zoom back out. Zoom back out. We hear an owl right now.
Is that what it is? And like there's such spooky sounds happening.
We're hearing a great horned owl right now. So I'm zoomed back out now, and like you'll see me recompose here, kind of get a good angle on these grain elevators, and then I'll take the photo again. So right now the settings are 2.5 seconds. I'm going to go to 5 seconds just to see what the brightness difference is, and take that photo. It'll take 5 seconds to get that. Imagine that. One of the things about night photography, and this is, the results are pretty spectacular. Like they really are. I'll open that up again. The results are absolutely spectacular. Like this isn't what our eyes are seeing. We're seeing it's a bit darker from what we're seeing. With the moonlight, we are actually able to see colors in the elevators with our eyes, but it's quite a bit darker than that. But we get this benefit of seeing so much on these long exposures. So
yeah, that's amazing.
It's so much fun.
A couple more questions here. So about glove recommendations. So the gloves that I'm wearing are actually the Heat gloves. Is it Heat 3? You guys? Yeah, Heat 3. So if you check out thecamerastore.com, these gloves are meant for photography. There's a few different styles that you can get. But yeah, you can put your hot pockets in. You can have a little zipper, pull your fingers out. They're also photography.
Liners.
What's that?
Don't forget that they come. You have to buy the liners for them.
Yeah, there's 2 different styles. There's ones that everything's built in together that are the older ones, and then the new ones you can put different liners in. Someone's asking, oh, this is from Alan, what's covering the camera? Well, we're doing some YouTube magic tonight. So we have a Hollyland set up here. So it's actually transmitting a wireless signal to our live streaming kit. We're using the YOLO Box Pro to live stream tonight. And this is just a bag to help protect it from the wind. And there's no moisture tonight, but if there was some moisture, it'd help protect it as well. And
so a couple of the reasons why I'm having a little bit of fumbly bits is because I don't have the back of my own camera and the touch screen because it's all up here on the Holly bits.
The Hollyland.
Hollyland.
Yes. But it's pretty amazing.
So.
Oh, and then Jordan said, pinprick star sharts will be my next
Star
band
sharts.
name.
Did I say that?
I don't know.
I might have.
Must have.
It's cold out.
It's cold. Our brains are not working so good.
So, all right. So zooming in on this again, we'll go back to that really quick. I took that photo, and it's on playback right now. So I'll zoom in again and dial in to the stars, and you can just see how unbelievably sharp that is at pinprick star charts. I guess that's a new thing. Even like the elevators, while they're in the foreground, they're just outside of the infinity distance. But for this purpose, like we're zoomed in so far, for this purpose, it's great. One of the techniques you can employ though at night in this reason, like we're a tiny bit soft on the sharpness of the elevators, but the stars are great. If the stars are great, you've got a photo. Yeah. You can do compositing in Photoshop, right? So you take this photo focused on the stars, and then you take another photo focused on the elevator, and it's not the photo, it's just you got everything in focus stacking. Yeah. So that's another technique to be able to work on.
Now you mentioned that you don't use histogram, but can you talk a little bit about how to achieve the right exposure?
Well, what's the right exposure? Well, I'm standing out here at night. I'm going to give you just a kind of a bit of a highlight of what we're seeing here. Let that come back up. And I'll kind of get this, I'll estimate on the sensor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and who was asking? Chris was asking about which camera it is. It's a Canon EOS R5.
Canon EOS R5, that's right. So I'm gonna go probably right about there, and that's about what our eyes are seeing. I hope it's translating through to the live feed right now. That it's kind of eerie and a little bit of light on the horizon. Probably the town of Strathmore to the north of us. Showing that.
Shout out to Strathmore.
Strathmore, YOLO.
Sorry, my husband grew up there. So.
Oh, that's funny. I was there once. So this is kind of what we're seeing with our eyes, and then when we do the playback, you know, is it, you know, are we? So how do we get a correct exposure? What do you like? Do you like a dark, moody photo? Do you like a bright photo that looks like daytime at night with stars in the sky? Like the sky's blue in this shot. You know, Evelyn and I are looking around, and Gary and Drew here, the sky's dark, right? Yeah. But the sky's always blue. Mm-hmm. Just when the sun's not shining through it, we don't see that. But the cameras see for a longer time than our eyes can actually pick up light. So how do you want to, what do you like? So test and try and take it home and edit it and make it as whatever you want it to be. This is your art. Right?
Well, and night photography is slow photography.
No
so you
boy.
spend the most amount of time getting ready, getting to your spot, lining up your composition roughly, but then you can just like bask in it for a while and like experiment with your exposures. Like you're talking about with mirrorless cameras, you can see your exposure before you shoot it, but then you can look at it too. And I mean, it's not like film, it doesn't cost a lot to take extra exposures. So
it's true. The one thing at night though is you're shooting for 10 seconds at a time, 30 seconds at a time, maybe longer if you're doing interesting things. So one thing that's not as glamorous, you do a lot of waiting around, waiting for exposures, and part of the reason why we dress in really warm gear is because we stand still in the cold for very long periods of time waiting for our camera. So yeah, it's not a glamorous thing to do, but the results sure are.
Yeah, if you can get it right, especially like if Milky Way rises when you're there at the right time.
Exactly, yeah. So like we have the backside of the Milky Way. We're beyond Milky Way season where the galactic core is up. But what we'll do fairly soon is we'll take a photo of just like a starry sky here. I can actually see Mars is up, Jupiter's up over here. So there's things to kind of look at and see. So, and we will shoot the moon. We've got a really bright moon, and we'll talk about that a little bit about what we can and can't do when the moon is shining.
Okay, yeah. Oh, and some more questions here. So Terry, sure. I think it's already been answered in the chat, but the lens that we're both shooting with today is the 15 to 35.
The RF 15 to 35.
Yeah, f2.8 lens. And someone was asking here, would all these steps to focus apply to taking a picture of the northern lights as well?
Yeah,
northern
same thing.
lights is your jam.
It's my jam. So I've taken 150,000 photos of the northern lights, most of them in focus. Yes, exactly. So you'd focus on a star anywhere in the night, and it doesn't even have to be a star. We're looking across the prairies right now, and there's farm lights 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers away. You can focus on that. That's infinity, right? That's far enough away. So you can do that live view focusing technique on a farm light or a vehicle driving on the highway in a distance away. So you focus on anything far away, and you've gained infinity focus. The northern lights are 600 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers away from you in most places, so they're not close.
My phone just shut down. Well, I'll try to warm it up in my pocket. We might not be able to see too many questions anymore. But the last questions that I saw was, is this being recorded? And the answer is yes, it is being recorded, and you'll be able to check it out right here afterwards. So if you want to go back to anything, then that's totally an option. But yeah, we'll see if we can get questions up and running again soon. But yeah, my phone just died in the cold, so
that's what it is. It happens. Yeah.
Well, what else were you going to show us? You said maybe some stars.
So yeah, I'm going to turn the camera around here. I'm going to kind of walk out just a little bit away from Evelyn here and kind of point away. Gary or Drew, tell me when to stop if I'm okay.
I'll refocus.
You'll refocus? Okay, good. I'll refocus too. Again, I'd have my flip out screen right now. I'm actually going to tilt this a little bit, you guys, if I can. I think that's possible.
There we go. Red flashlights.
We got our red flashlights. Turn that off because that's blinding me. People, these flashlights that we have that are hanging over around our necks here are great because they're red, so they don't interfere with your night vision. And two, they point down until you're ready for them. Because when I'm teaching, people wear headlamps, and I'll walk over to them to give them a hand, and they'll look right at me, and I'll get completely blinded by their headlamp. And
oh, yay, questions.
Oh, Gary's got questions.
Gary's got it.
All right, so I'll get blinded by them by the headlamp on the head. So those aren't the best way to use. So I just a flashlight hanging on a lanyard, a camera store lanyard. All right, so are we, Drew? Are we on the back of the camera again?
Just gonna bounce to it.
All right.
Yeah. And is my audio coming through or no?
It is, but it's a little low.
It's low. Okay.
Here we are out here in the middle of nowhere.
Everything's low, so.
Okay.
Okay, so the nice thing about the back of this camera, I have this focus guide here that I can drive around. And instead of having to move the camera around to find a star, I can actually just pick one, get it right on top, and then when I zoom in, it zooms in on that spot. Did you guys know that? So it zooms in right on the spot. I'm gonna focus again. So every time you move the camera, you should actually do this procedure. And don't tape the lens. Don't focus to infinity during the day and then tape the lens, because your cameras, if you do it in the house and you come out in the cold, it's affected enough that materials shrink and expand in hot and cold that it will end up making it out of focus, and you'll be so sad when you get home because they look good on the back of the camera, but they'll end up being out of focus, which sucks.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions right now?
Yes, we got some questions.
Okay.
All right. Let me just back it up a little bit here. So is there anything that you can do to help with shots in the northern lights when it's a little cloudy?
Well, the clouds are in between the northern lights and me, right? So, but the clouds aren't the enemy. They can actually add interest to a northern lights photo. So if it's not completely cloudy, or it's obscuring the sky completely, and there's just a few wispy clouds, it makes it an interesting photo too. So they're not the enemy, but if it's fully clouded over, well, you're not going to see any of the northern lights.
Okay, I'm just seeing here.
1 second, just gonna try and boost the gain on the mics real quick.
Okay.
We're a little low.
Try that.
Okay. Hello, audience. Can you tell me if it sounds a little bit better? I think someone said it did sound a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how would the R7 compare to the R5?
It's a crop sensor camera. Really the difference. The sensors are just as strong. The effects are the same. You end up with like a 15 millimeter lens ends up being about a 20 millimeter lens equivalent, right? So you lose some of the width by shrinking the sensor. So you need a wider lens for that, and there's specifically wider lenses for the crop sensors. Yep. So that's really the only difference between the two. The body's a bit smaller. The shutter's faster. Like if you're shooting birds and things like that, it's an absolute machine gun. Yeah. So the R7's a phenomenal camera.
Yeah, and like you were saying, you can still get nice bright lenses, and so it's definitely something to get started on. And I always say invest in glass, like especially for doing
You'll take
like
your
this.
glass with you from camera body advancement to camera body advancement. I did that with my EF series lenses until I jumped to mirrorless, and I still use the EFs with the adapters, but yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, sorry guys about the audio here. We're just trying to adjust as we go, but thanks for letting us know. Okay, so another question from Danelle. Can or should you tape the focus in place after you have sharp stars and the camera has been out in the cold for a while?
No, don't tape your focus. Get used to doing this procedure. Every time you move the camera, every time you change focal distance, every time you change lenses, every time you change anything, you pick your lens up, pick your camera up and move it to a different point, because the disappointment is so palpable when it gets bumped just out of focus. If your stars aren't sharp, you don't have a night photo. Like, you can pass it off as a big photo, but when you start zooming in on it and looking at it, you'll just be disappointed. And so get used to making that that focus. Like, you see how quickly I can do it, right? So I'll just do another real quick one.
It's easy enough, right?
Zoom in,
Yeah.
focus, and you're done. That's it. That's the whole process for me, what I'm doing. So
Can you do that one more time, just a little bit slower, so people
right,
can
exactly. So we've done that. So I'm going to bump it out of focus again. Find my focus ring. There it is. So bump it out of focus. I'm on that star. Oops. Zoom in. I can see that star just in the little bit. So I'm going to very, very, very slowly go past focus. The idea is you're trying to make that star tiny. This isn't the brightest star in the night either, so you can see how strong this sensor is on the RF, on the R series here. So that's in focus now. That is pinprick accurate.
What was that? Shardy.
Pinprick sure. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. So let's take a photo. So that's showing kind of what our eyes are seeing. I'm going to brighten it up, and I'm going to take a picture. So that's at 3.2 seconds. Take the photo. Wait and watch. This is the wait and watch is the thing at night, right? Whoa, is that ever bright? So the moon is just blow everything out, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, right? So you got flare coming off the moon, the cars on the highway down there for 3 seconds, and it looks like daylight on the ground. It's just so many cool things you can do at night. But now if we zoom in on this, you can see how sharp these stars are. Like, they're just so incredibly sharp as we move around and see. These are stars that you would never be able to pick out by eye. Like, I can look up and count with this bright moon, 25 stars right now in the sky, and there's 25 just in this tiny little bit of the frame. So it's amazing. One of the things with the moon is people ask me, well, how can I see the craters of the moon while shooting this night sky like this? Like, how the details on the moon. Well, you can't in a single photo. Where people take these photos that the moon is very sharp and the sky is seen is during a full moon rise or set. Like once a month, right? Whenever, the full moons, when they come up and down, right on the horizon, right? Because the sun is still setting on the other end, because the moon and sun are at opposition. And so up and down, the moon pops up and you get the ambience around it with the craters and with the details and all that sort of thing. Right now, the moon, what we're seeing is the middle of the day up there. So the middle of the day settings for us on Earth would be what? F8, ISO 400.
Yeah, or even lower.
F8. I watch as I change these settings. So I'm going to zoom in on this just for a second so you can see it. So 1/250. So this is ISO 250, f2.8, 1/250th of a second. I'm going to zoom in on this. Sorry, I'm going to move my point over to the moon. So that's the moon, the little tiny dot you can see right there. And you can see I'm still in focus, obviously. Zoom in. So even at 1/250th of a second, f2.8 and ISO 250, it's still too bright because it's middle of the day on the moon. And so we have to set our camera to capture the craters and things on the moon like we're shooting on the day in town, on Earth. So what would we do on a bright sunny day is we'd go, f11 maybe. So I'm going to dial that. And so here's f13.
Yeah.
1/250th of a second, f11, ISO 250, and there is the moon. So that's a very fast photo. And you can see how tiny it is in there. I'm going to zoom back in on the playback of that shot I just took. If I can. 1 second. There it is right there. Oops, I can't do that. I can't do the touch screen on this thing here. So Gary's laughing at me. Don't laugh at me, Gary. Whew, that's cold fingers right there. Zoom.
Oh, there she
There's
is.
the moon right there. Zoom. So now at home I could probably zoom in even further. And now I can change lenses too, right? I could put my 500 millimeter lens on this because I'm shooting daytime. I could actually shoot the moon right now to get that kind of detail handheld because it's not nighttime on the moon. So this is the issue now. So if I go back to settings that are set up for nighttime, so I'm going to go back to, 2, 3, 4 seconds, ISO 1600. And now the moon looks like the sun up there, right? Because it blows everything out. So if you see a photo that has a night sky like this with the moon high in the sky over a city or something like that, that the moon is very, very highly detailed and everything else is around it is good, it's 2 photos.
Yeah,
It's a composite,
or more.
right? Or more, right?
Yeah.
But normally it's 2 photos. You can actually take that 1 photo. It's not what's here. It's just with the dynamic ranges of even the most modern cameras, it's impossible to get in 1 photo.
We got some moon questions.
Nice.
Okay, so San said, can you take the same type of shot with a sharper moon? They wanted to see one with a sharper moon.
Oh,
Focus on
I'd have
the
to change the lenses, just because we're on such a wide lens. Let me just try and zoom in on this a little bit, and we'll do a little recomposition here, and come up. And then what we're gonna have to do is pick a star again. Oops, I keep on touching the screen because that's what I'm used to doing. Let's do that. Star right there. We're gonna refocus because I've changed my focal distance. And that's it. That's done, right? That's focus. So that's how fast that is, you guys. I'm ready to shoot now. So this is as narrow as I can make this lens at 35 millimeters, but I'll take the shot and try and make it incredibly sharp and zoom in on it. So I'll go back to daytime settings because that's what we're doing at night.
Someone just said sunny f16 rule might work to expose the moon too.
Well, yeah, of course. So let's do that. So f16, sunny f16 is matching ISO and shutter speed, 1 over number is shutter speed with f16. So that's on the brightest, sunniest of days. This is from the old film days when journalists would be out on a bright sunny day. They'd go f16, 1/100th, and ISO 100. So we're trying that right now. I'm gonna take the photo. I took a bunch because it's fast. And I'm using the cable release on this too. So I'm gonna press play and then zoom in on this again. I'm gonna scroll up so it's in the middle. Zoom, 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 zoom. So again, that's like, it is sharp on my screen. I don't know what it looks like on your YouTube screens, but it's sharp on my screen. But if I was going to do this right now, I would change to, honestly, I would change to my 500 millimeter lens.
Yeah,
So,
actually, someone just said, what settings would you use for the moon if you're shooting with a 600 millimeter lens and a crop sensor?
same. So that's 900 millimeters, which is you're going to be really close. You're going to have like your moon's going to be half your frame. So you could shoot sunny 16 like that. I wouldn't do it, right? Because if you're if you're going to handhold it, put it on a tripod. Do sunny 16 rules if you want, and then shoot the moon. So yeah, it's like a telescope then.
Okay.
Right?
Cool.
But it's daytime. It's daytime. Full moon. It's a really easy shot because it's daytime shots. You don't have to stabilize the camera really strongly.
Definitely. Okay, so a couple other questions here. Do you have to worry about the lens fogging when we're out there? And do you use a dew shield warmer, especially for time-lapse sequences?
Dew shield warmers. No. I will once in a while tape hand warmers around the lens or just elastic band them around the lens. What happens though is you have to try and pick a spot close to the front of the lens that isn't actually near your focal ring because you probably bump out of focus while you do it.
Oh yeah.
Right? So when you're putting the warmers on there, there's a thing called dew point, right? And that's where the frost hits. Right, they get cool, and there's a moisture content in the air, and dew point can be at -20, it can be at +10, it can be at +30, right? Like and at night if it's getting colder and colder, it'll hit that point, and that's when everything frosts up. And so you just kind of got to be wary of that and sort of understand weather. And I'll keep a rag with me, and like you're right, when shooting time lapse you want to have that nice clean lens. So yeah, I will warm the lens at times, but very rarely do I have to. It's probably 10% of the time I end up dewing up or frosting up.
Yeah. Well, I know when we were in the Yukon, it was like, don't bring, like, if we needed to go in to warm up, it was like, don't bring your camera inside because that's when your camera's going to fog up
it's a
too,
great,
going in and out.
Yeah, it's a great lesson is you need to go warm up. Your camera doesn't. Pop the battery out and bring it with you. Keep it warm. I've got my batteries, my extra batteries are in my pocket with hot pockets around them to keep them warm. So
we got hot pockets everywhere.
They're everywhere right now. Yeah, they're in the gloves, they're in the pockets, they're on the sound receiver.
We don't need them in our boots though. Both of us are wearing super warm boots.
-100 boots. Are your toes warm?
They are great. I'm wearing my husband's pair tonight, so they're gigantic on me, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Okay, there was a couple other questions. One is an interesting topic about night photography in general, and it was about asking for permission for different places that you shoot. So what's your viewpoint on that? when you're out and about and you see like an awesome spot that you want to shoot?
Well, the sky's big, and it's usually the same on the public road as it is in the field. So if it's a foreground that you specifically want, or a pond maybe, or something that's on private land, go knock on a door. It's probably going to save you a bunch of scary moments later on if like a farmer comes out and drives toward, even just like someone just driving toward you on a crunchy road, even if you're in the public space, can get your heart racing because you don't know what the intentions of that person is. You're in the middle of the night. There's spooky sounds all around us. We just had great horned owl hooting.
Yeah, and there's like creaking springs, and I don't know, maybe these grain elevators are haunted.
There's some little windows that creak and bang on the elevators here, so you hear all those things all the time. The best thing you can do is, best advice is scout during the day. Right, go and find these locations, these foregrounds and things during the day. Find out if they're in public or private land, if you have to gain access by getting permission. But there are so many places in Alberta. Like our grid road system is every, mile by mile, and you can drive in so many places, and just park on public access field approaches that are in the ditches, right, and just kind of get off the main road and park there and shoot beautiful skies. And there's so many public things like these grain elevators are just off the main road here in Mossley, and so exactly. Scout during the day. Use Google Maps too, like on your phone you can open it up. Those satellite images are shot during the day, so you can actually see more by your Google Maps as to what's down that road. You can sort of pre-scout it right on your phone.
Awesome. Well, I think we're caught up on questions so far, so
cool.
Yeah,
take a few more photos. All right, so I want to show actually a little tiny bit of light painting. So I'm going to spin the camera around one more time and point back at the grain elevators. I'm going to change my settings back to nighttime settings because we're not pointed at that bright moon anymore. All right, so 1600, 6 seconds. I'm going to go actually, because we're using this. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out again, darken that down a little bit, and take a test shot, because I always take a test shot. It's going to be 6 seconds long. Take a test photo, we wait. This is what we do at night, is we stand around and wait. I actually carry chairs with me in the van.
Do you want the light off?
I don't think I need the light off. That's all Moonlight that we've got on that, so the light can stay on for us if you want, or you can turn it off. We're in the back screen now, I believe. So this is a test shot, and it's while we've got a moon that's pretty bright, I'm actually going to lighten up the elevator a little bit more with a flashlight. I think in your screens you can see that a little bit, just while that's me literally painting like a paintbrush the outside of the elevator. So here is the previous shot. We'll come back to these. We'll go between them. So that's the previous shot. And now what I'm going to do is while I'm shooting, I'm going to paint some light onto the elevator. And so this is you being able to lighten things up. Waiting for the feed. So you can see the difference if I go back and forth between these two. That's me actually lighting that elevator to give it a little extra lighting. So if the moon wasn't out, those would be pitch black. I shot out here on moonless nights, and it's spectacular. The stars are incredible. So we're losing some stars due to the bright moon, but that's pitch black, so you don't see that at all. So you can actually bring your flashlight and brighten those up. So it's quite a fun tool to do. I'm gonna get Evelyn to actually go stand out in the field a little bit there. Yeah. Tell her to stop in a certain spot. Okay, walk right out in the field, Evelyn.
Okay.
You're going to head out there. I don't know if we'll lose connection to her on the sound, but we'll stop her at a certain point. Yeah, stop that right there, Evelyn. You're good. And so you guys behind me, can you guys turn off that light real quick? So in the test shot, just you can just stand still, Evelyn, for me.
I'm just falling into this.
Yeah, it's the nighttime thing, right? Hold still just for 4 seconds. There's a shot there. So now I'm going to light Evelyn in this shot really quickly, like.
No, because when he's doing a long exposure. Oh, okay.
So this is just really, really simply a so there's Evelyn without any kind of extra light on her, and there's Evelyn. Oops, 10 images. Oh, I'm really messing this up now, aren't I? Cold fingers. So there's the difference between kind of lighting and not lighting, and like she's sharper in the image, and that's just a flashlight on her. So you could use speed lights to really get a sharp light on her, make it kind of interesting and nice. Could we what?
Can you go back and forth between them one more time?
Heck yeah.
I think it's colder over here.
So between, you're out in the cold there, hey? So going back and forth between those, you can see how we can add a little bit of light. So that's light painting in general. Now I'm actually going to set up something fun. Evelyn, you can come back.
Okay.
I'm going to set up something kind of fun. I need 20 seconds though, so I'm going to actually set the camera at a nice exposure for 20 seconds. It's going to be really not too bright. And I'm going to do some light writing.
Ooh.
So this is going to be kind of fun, I think. So what Evelyn's going to do, I don't even want to do a test shot, so I'm actually going to see if I can't focus this better right now. Just a little tiny tweak for focus. There we go. So what I'm going to do is do a little bit of light writing. So when I tell Evelyn to hit the button, grab the cable release, and when I say hit the button, go ahead and hit the button. And now I have to think, if you guys can hear me still, I'm walking away speaking louder, I'm on a microphone. Pretty new to all this. So if I gotta do it right, yeah, I gotta do it from over here. So Evelyn, am I in the frame?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and hit the button. So everybody just hang on 2 seconds while I do this. Oh, you're not started yet? Okay, go now. Are you shooting?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if that worked.
Oh, it was so close.
Am I close? Let's press play on that one. So light writing. Oh, I got the C and the S backwards. Look at that. It's supposed to say
I like
TCSTV.
Aww.
So the fun things we can have with the fun things we can have with long exposures. I'm going to try that one more time. I'm trying to get my because I'm writing backwards facing the screen, right? So Evelyn, we're going to try that one more time.
We'll try that one more time.
Yeah, you tell me. You give me a 3, 2, 1 shoot, okay? Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, shoot.
Oh, I'm blinking now. That's fun. That should be interesting. It's like a rave.
Oh, the first one was better.
So I'm gonna try one more time to get this right, okay, guys? This is just too much fun. The result photo. I hit the button. Yeah, so it was flashing instead. I got really close though.
Yeah, the other one was better, right? So
Yeah.
That one? Okay, ooh, fingers are close. Okay, oh, why did that go away? Too fast. There
There
we
you
go.
go. So that was.
Uh-oh.
We got a low battery.
Okay, you have one more chance.
One more chance at it? Okay, let's try this again. It's the,
Okay, you ready, Neil?
yeah, we're ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, shoot.
Let's see if we did it.
Come on, come on. Come on, come on.
Oh, anyway.
Oh, your first one was
So close, the close.
beginner's luck, I think was the best one.
It's pretty
Here,
chilly
we'll
out
pull it
here.
up, we'll pull it up.
That's pretty fun. So we can have a lot of fun out here. There's lots of cool things you can do.
Yeah, like even if you had like a cloudy night and you're expecting clear skies,
very much.
you can do light painting, just like find some cool foreground subjects.
Yeah.
You'll have a lot of fun.
You can have a lot of fun. So, is there any other questions right now?
Brad was asking if Gary is in behind the scenes, and we have Gary and Drew behind the scenes tonight. Yeah.
They're doing amazing. They're freezing like us right now.
Danelle was asking, I think this is back to the moon stuff. Can you do the same thing with the moon, set f16 sunny day settings, then zoom into the moon and get this super sharp focus, therefore not using the stars, which are not the same distance from Earth?
Well, it's all infinity focus. So if the stars are in focus, the moon's in focus. So if you're at infinity, and the other thing with the full moon, autofocus on it. Just turn your autofocus back on. Right, that's the easiest thing to do. If the moon is out like that, it's one of the tricks you can do is autofocus on the moon, then shut off the focus on your lens, so it's not going to hunt if you change your composition or anything. And so you can change that.
Kim's asking, can you use an APS-C camera for night photography and get good results?
Of course, yeah. They have
an XT3. Love the XT3 series too.
100%. It's just settings, right? Like it's you're not beholden to light at night. Right, you use your shutter speed mostly to kind of get incredibly sharp and bright images at night. So your eyes are seeing the world at like 1/30th of a second, and if you're shooting at 30 seconds, it's an infinity amount more light that's coming in than your eyes can see. So you're getting so much. You're getting so much out of it.
Claudia was asking, what settings would you recommend to shoot the brightly lit up Nanton grain elevators?
What settings?
Yeah, so they have lights.
Yeah, I saw that last weekend, so it looks pretty cool. I didn't see how bright the lights are, but those are lights, right? So, if you were 1000 ISO and are you on a tripod? Right, there's a question. So if you're on a tripod, it can be anything. It can be 10 second, or it can be a 1 second shot at ISO 100 and f2.8 sort of thing, right? So if you're handheld, you're going to be 1/100th of a second, ISO 3200 and wide open aperture, that kind of thing. So it just depends.
Oh, okay. Someone was asking, or someone said, "Oh, I thought you were going to light paint the structure."
I did light paint the structure.
Earlier,
Light paint, so not light writing on the structure, but we actually lit it up with the flashlight to show it brighter, like so we can actually get a brighter image of it. So
you'll have to watch it on replay, and you can.
It's fine. So we basically light painting the structure, just giving it some extra lighting, so we can see it better.
Okay, we got a couple more, you guys, and then I think we'll wrap this puppy up because everything's dying.
Our batteries are dying. Yeah. Camera's good though.
Brenda, I'm new to photography and have a Canon EOS 70. Is it a big enough camera to do night photography?
It's a phenomenal camera for night photography. A lot more about night photography is the lens. A wide open aperture, something that's a f2.8 or an f2 or an f1.4 or 1.2, something that's allows more light in is probably more of a key for night photography than the camera itself. I started shooting on a Canon XTI, and I would rent lenses from the camera store that are 1.2 and go out and shoot with that really, really early Rebel camera and make really brilliant shots. It struggled at night, so I would actually set my bulb mode and shoot like city at night shots for like 10 minutes. Just because I wanted to shoot at ISO 100 to get really clean photos, because then, because that 3200 is now what 400 used to be for ISO for cleanliness. So
yeah. Well, and on that note, I'll do a shameless plug to kind of wrap things up here. But if you are interested in trying Canon gear, we have a pretty big rental pool of stuff that you can try out. So if you have like a night photography shoot in mind, you want to get a brighter lens or something, give us a call and you can see what you can rent. We have all kinds of lenses, and we have our Try Before You Buy program. So there's a lot of stuff that you can get for like a weekend at no cost, like once a year if you want to do that. So definitely check that out. And I want to thank you, Neil, for braving the cold with us, or bringing us out to brave the cold, however you want to put it.
I think if it was 10 degrees warmer, it would have went a tiny bit smoother. So thank you guys for bearing with us and some of the little kind of janky things that happened. But I think it went pretty well.
It did.
I hope it did.
And I hope it gave you guys a good experience of what it's like to go out and shoot with Neil. I mean, he has such a great following of people that take his workshops and tours. You're going all over the place these days.
We have a brand new website too. We just finished building, neilzellerphototours.com.
That's awesome.
And there's actually a really cool page on there. It's called Restaurant Map, and it's our favorite restaurants that we've ate at on tour all across Western Canada. That when you click on it on your phone, the Google Maps will come up and take you straight there. So you can go to some cool restaurants too. It's a fun resource.
Excellent. And of course, thanks to our sponsor for tonight, Canon Canada, for helping us put this on, supporting the TCSTV Live Dream Team as well, to have all this cool gear and be able to do this live in the field. We hope that you guys liked it, and if you want to see more, definitely comment on this video after the live stream wraps up. We'll also send out a survey to those that registered, and you'll also get the special exclusive Canon offer tomorrow morning. And if you didn't register, you want to get in on that list, email me, evelyn@thecamerastore.com, and I'll be sure to add you. Otherwise, we hope that you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the notifications, and we'll catch you again very soon.